Rain pattered softly against the high school gym windows, blurring the outside world as the faint hum of music filled the space. It was the spring dance night, something the students had been looking forward to for months. But while most of the kids were busy laughing, twirling in glittering dresses and sharp suits, a man in worn work boots quietly mopped the far corner of the floor, trying not to be in anyone's way. His name was Daniel Miller, 37 years old, a single dad, and the school's janitor. His work shirt was faded, the blue barely holding its color after years of washing. His calloused hands gripped the mop handle with the same strength he used to hold his 10-year-old daughter, Lily, when she was a baby. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed away 5 years ago in a car accident. Since then, Daniel had done everything he could to keep their small apartment, put food on the table, and raise Lily with the love of two parents. He wasn't supposed to be here tonight, not really. The dance committee had asked him to stick around in case of spills, broken decorations, or anything that might need cleaning. Daniel didn't mind. Extra hours meant a little more money, and every bit counted. On the other side of the room, in a simple wheelchair decorated with tiny silver stars, sat a girl in a pale pink dress. Her dark brown hair framed a face that was both delicate and full of life. Her name was Emma, 14 years old and living with cerebral palsy. She had always dreamed of dancing at the school dance, but none of the boys had approached her. They were too busy chasing their friends, partners, and crushes across the floor, or too shy to cross the invisible wall around her. Emma had been watching Daniel for a while. He moved differently from everyone else, quiet, purposeful, but not rushed. He didn't look at her like she was different. Most adults gave her that same tilted head pity smile, the one she hated. But Daniel's gaze was kind and warm, the same way she imagined a big brother or uncle would look at someone they cared about. She took a deep breath. Her mother had always told her to be brave, to ask for what she wanted, but she never thought she'd do something like this. Rolling her chair forward, she crossed the distance between them. "Hi," she said softly. Daniel looked up, surprised, his hands pausing mid-mop. "Well, hi there. You enjoying the dance?" Emma hesitated, her fingers playing with the edge of her dress. "Not really. Nobody's asked me to dance." Daniel's brow furrowed. That doesn't seem right. He glanced around the room. The kids were laughing, oblivious. "Well, sometimes people just need a little encouragement. You know, I'm not much of a dancer, but if you'd like, I'd be honored to have a dance with you." Her eyes lit up instantly. "Really? Really?" Daniel leaned the mop against the wall, then approached her chair. "May I?" he asked, holding out his hands. She placed her hands in his, and he gently wheeled her toward the center of the room. The music shifted to a slow, melodic tune, the kind where you sway more than step. Daniel moved in sync with her chair, twirling it slowly, keeping his eyes on hers the whole time, so she knew she was the center of his attention. Around them, the noise softened. A few students glanced over, whispering to each other. The gym teacher stood in the doorway, smiling faintly. And up in the shadowed corner of the balcony, a woman in an elegant navy dress stood frozen, her champagne glass trembling in her hand. Her name was Victoria Hayes, Emma's mother, billionaire CEO of a real estate empire. The kind of woman people noticed instantly when she entered a room. She was rarely seen at her daughter's school events. Her schedule was always too packed with meetings, travel, and high-profile dinners. Tonight, she'd arrived late, intending to stay in the back unnoticed, just to make sure Emma was okay. She hadn't expected to find her daughter alone at the edge of the room, until she saw the janitor approach. Victoria's first instinct was suspicion. Too many times, she'd seen people act kind to Emma only because they wanted something from her. But as she watched, something shifted. Daniel wasn't pretending. He wasn't glancing around to see who was watching. He was laughing when Emma laughed, listening when she spoke, and moving as if she were the most important person in the room. The song ended, but Emma beamed. That was the best dance ever. "Well, I'm glad I didn't step on your toes," Daniel teased gently. "Maybe I'll see you on the next song, yeah?" Emma nodded eagerly before wheeling back toward her friends, who now looked at her with wide-eyed curiosity. Victoria descended the stairs from the balcony. She approached Daniel as he picked up his mop again. "Excuse me," she said, her voice smooth but laced with authority. Daniel straightened, instantly self-conscious. "Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry if I was out of place." "You weren't." Her eyes softened slightly. "That was my daughter you danced with." Daniel swallowed. She's a wonderful young lady. I just didn't want her to feel left out. Victoria studied him for a long moment. There was no arrogance in his tone, no trace of pity in the way he spoke about Emma. Most people don't notice her, she said quietly. Or if they do, they don't know how to act. I think the trick is to just treat her like herself, Daniel replied. Not the chair, not the condition, just Emma. Victoria felt something unfamiliar tug at her chest. She extended her hand. Victoria Hayes. Daniel Miller, he said, shaking her hand firmly. The rest of the evening passed in a blur for Daniel. He finished his shift, went home to his sleeping daughter, and didn't think much of it, until the following Monday morning, when the school principal called him into the office. You've been requested for a meeting, the principal said, sliding a business card across the desk. It read, Victoria Hayes, CEO. Daniel blinked. She wants to see me? She insisted. When Daniel arrived at the glass and steel skyscraper downtown, he felt painfully out of place in his plain shirt and worn jacket. The receptionist led him to Victoria's corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows with a sweeping view of the city. Victoria stood behind her desk, smiling faintly. Mr. Miller, thank you for coming. Of course. Is everything all right? She gestured for him to sit. I don't often meet people who surprise me. But you did. You didn't know who I was, or who Emma was beyond being a girl in a chair, and yet you treated her like she mattered. That means more to me than I can put into words. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. I didn't do it for thanks. I know, which is why I'd like to offer you something. She slid an envelope across the desk. Inside was an